Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great week so far. So today, I just want to talk a little bit about being a Leo and my shirt, if it's any clue. I actually got this on Amazon. I think it was like $15 or $16, super cute. I wear it all the time. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about being a Leo and what that means, and because honestly I had to Google it. Once I was a Leo, I didn't know what it stood for, which is really funny. But I just want to talk about that and a few tips for new Leos, or if you're new to the police community. If you're new, welcome. This is an amazing family that we have, and fortunately, if you are a police wife or a partner or spouse, whatever category you fit into, you immediately have a family of hundreds of thousands of people. And there's nothing quite like it. You know that you have support and just people there at any time for anything that you might need. And even if it's not from your own post or precinct or however, whatever you guys call it, depending on what branch you belong to, there's always help, and there's always somebody to talk to, and there's always somebody to understand. And so that's one of the most amazing things about being a Leo. So really quickly, before I dive into all of that, Leo stands for Law Enforcement Officer Wife, and I've found a lot of support as a Leo. I've been a Leo for almost 2 years. My husband's been a trooper for almost 2 years, and I found a lot of friends both physically and virtually. So I just want to talk a little bit about what this life means and what you may face as a Leo. So I will say that sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to get into wherever your husband is at. So when my husband graduated the academy and was posted where we currently are, we're actually both from the area, and which was really nice. Some police officers prefer not to work in the community in which they live because it can cause, it may cause drama, or it may cause tension for you, and that's each individual's choice. That's a personal decision you have to make with your husband or spouse or significant other to decide if it's worth it to you. And some officers are not comfortable pulling over people that they personally know or aren't comfortable going into situations. Officers are seeing, basically, most of the time, they're seeing the worst part of someone's life, the worst part of their day. And whether it's they're pulling them over, or they're dealing with a domestic dispute, or somebody has OD'd, all of those different things, they're seeing that portion of their day. And they also have the difficult task of letting a family know that a family member has passed due to an accident or a shooting or whatever it may be, and that's really heavy. And so some people choose not to live in the community in which they work, and that is completely fine. That is a choice that you have to make and decide, for your family, if you are comfortable with that. And there's no wrong answer there. It's really whatever you guys decide together. So we never have had a problem with it. We personally love that we live in the community that my husband works in, and so far we haven't had, we've had a couple of rough days, as every police family does, but we've never been conflicted, and we've actually had a lot of support from our community. But when I was brand new, as a brand new Leo, once my husband graduated the academy, I found that it was a little bit difficult to get into the group. So my husband came to a post that has had, the troopers there have been there for many years, most of them. And so they're very tight-knit. They've known each other for years. Their kids have grown up together. They play together. They've gone to school together. They've graduated together. And so it's a very close-knit family. And I found that as a new, younger Leo, I'm the youngest one from the post. it's been a little bit harder to break into that. And that being said, they were always so kind and so welcoming and always offering support and help. But you almost felt like the odd one out. And that's not anybody's fault. That is the natural way of things. When you have built a community that you guys know each other so well, it's difficult for someone new to come into that. So it was a little bit harder for me, but the key is, if you find yourself in that situation, the key is just to keep at it. So meet your husband's coworkers, meet their wives, try and find them on Facebook, connect with them on your group. I know that the Wives of Troopers, we have a private Facebook group, and that's how we all connect, and there's always somebody there to understand and get where you're coming from. So just keep at it, keep trying, and eventually you will start to fit in and it will become much easier. I will say that I got to know my husband's coworkers much sooner than I got to know their families, because he sees them all the time, his coworkers. He sees the guys all the time. And I say guys because it's all predominantly male where he works. There's actually he doesn't work with any female troopers at his post. And I also would take in baked goods, cookies. I would make dinner on Christmas, Thanksgiving, that type of thing. So the guys got to know me a little bit more quickly than their families. So the only interaction that I ever had with their families was at post-Christmas parties or post-interactions. So that's a little bit more difficult because you're working with a limited schedule and a limited time to get to know these people. So unless you have a post or a precinct that's really involved, it can be a little bit more difficult to get to know anybody. So, but just be persistent. Don't be annoying, but be persistent, and you will find one or two. It'll start out as one or two wives or spouses, significant others that you will be able to connect with, and that's been really helpful for me. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So the number one tip that I have for a Leo is, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. And I mean that in the nicest possible way, but our officers face incredible danger and incredible stress every single day at work. And the last thing that they need when they get home is more stress and more tension and more anger. That being said, it doesn't mean that life should be perfect when they walk through the door. Life happens, and we all work, we all have jobs, we all, even if you're a stay-at-home mom, that is a full-time job, and that requires all of your effort and all of your attention, and whatever it may be, we all have things going on, and so they have to be understanding too that when they walk through the door, it's not going to be all perfect and serenity when they come home, but they should not face an added stress about you not being able to handle the job. So of course there's natural worry and concern for your officer. This is a very harsh environment that they are working in. It's very thankless, and they put their lives at risk every single day. And we've already seen this year, we've lost, I think it's 8 Leos, law enforcement officers so far, just in this year. And that's very stressful, and it's very overwhelming to you as a spouse as your husband walks out the door every day. However, when you choose to be with someone who has decided to dedicate their lives to something so admirable and so beautiful, if you choose to be with them knowing they're a law enforcement officer or knowing that they're going to become one, you have to prepare yourself for that stress. It's just a fact of the job, and it's just a part of their life as an officer. And if you can't get on board with that, that's okay. This life is not for everyone. It's very stressful. You miss a lot of things. Your husband will miss a lot of things. Your spouse will miss a lot of things. They will be late for dinner. They will be late to come home. Sometimes they won't come home at all. They will have extremely stressful days. They will have days where they don't want to come home because they don't want to bring all of that heaviness with them. And that's really hard. And it's very hard to kind of settle into that life and find a groove. And if you're finding that it's not working for you and you're both just more stressed out and he's not finding support when he comes home and you're finding it, too difficult to stay with all of this conflict, then you guys really need to sit down and have a conversation. And officers need all the support they can get. They need their families behind them 100% because at the end of the day, that's all they have. And if you can't get on board with that, it's a difficult choice to make. But it's better off, you guys are better off if you decide to separate and him come home to quiet and calm than for him to come home to a constant battleground. So again, I'm not saying that, their life is going to be perfect or your life is going to be perfect and home is always going to be this peaceful, serene place. That's not true, and that's not really, it's just not practical to think that you can create that every day. I know. I have a brand new baby, and every day is different, and it's a struggle sometimes when my husband gets home from work and he's exhausted, but I'm exhausted. My baby's been screaming all day, and you just have to kind of work out a balance. But it's always been important to me to constantly offer that support to my husband, even on the days when you get frustrated because he's late for dinner for the 5th time that week. That's normal and that's fine. You just have to find ways to deal with that practically and not overwhelm them with more stress. So that's my first tip. My second tip is to connect with other Leos, whether you can do it physically or virtually. So depending on where you live from your husband's job, it may be more difficult to get involved with Leos in a physical sense. So you may not see them a lot. You may not be close to your husband's work. And so that can make things a little bit more tricky. But if you can't do that, connect with them online, connect with them through Instagram, Facebook. We've got tons and tons of support for Leos. And for me, it's been easiest to connect with there's another trooper that is fairly new to this post. He's been a trooper for longer than my husband, but he's new to this area. And so I found it really a lot easier to connect to his wife because she's new too, and she's new to this area. And so it has been easier to connect with her than maybe some of the ones that have been here, for 20 years. And so just find somebody, whether it's with your husband's exact job. So like we have local PD, we have sheriff's office, we have the state troopers here. And either way, find somebody in that family. So there's not a lot of competition between, at least in my area. I know that there can be depending on where you're located. But the SOs and the local PD and the state troopers, they're all very close. And they've really formed a bond through working together. And they work together a lot because we live in a small community and the local PD doesn't have an enormous amount of officers and the sheriff's department doesn't have a lot of officers. And so my husband and his fellow co-workers, they work together a lot, hand in hand. And I haven't met a lot of Leos that their husbands are SOs or PD. That's one of my goals this year, is to maybe connect and reach out to them a little bit more. But find somebody that can understand and that can just, they get it. And I remember with my friend, she, we've called each other a couple of times or sent a message, 2, 3 a.m., hubby's not home, have you heard anything, and vice versa. When we get together at the post, we always hang out and see each other. They brought us dinner after Oliver was born and just offered a lot of support. And that just, it gives your soul goodness. And even if you guys can't get together all the time, your schedules are conflicting, it's a busy world, you always know that there's somebody there that has your back. And so that's an amazing feeling, and that's an amazing connection to make. The next tip I have is to connect on social media to healthy and encouraging outlets. So some of my favorite blogs or Facebook pages to follow: Police Wives of America, Ammo and Grace is one of my favorites. Now I'm trying to think of them all off the top of my head. But there's a lot of Blue Line community groups, and it's really important to connect to those. And while I'm on the topic of social media, it's very important to plug into the healthy ones. We live in a world where social media is almost constantly pushing against the Blue Line community. And that being said, physically, we have so much support. Our community is very supportive. My husband's had a lot of support. He said he's had way more support than he's had, anger over his job. And I think that the media can really make you feel alone as a Leo, and make your family feel isolated, because they are focusing on the things that aren't stellar about the community. And the sad thing is that yes, there are officers who have an agenda and who use their power for bad, but that's so few. And there are hundreds of thousands of officers who go out every single day and serve and protect, and that's not really what's focused on. So find those social media outlets that are going to feed your soul and not bring it down. And especially if you have children, regulate what they're seeing in the media as much as possible. Obviously, they're going to see stuff, they're going to hear stuff. You can't protect them from everything, and you really need to prepare them for that, for the backlash that they may see about Daddy's job, and that they don't really understand why everybody's angry about their dad's job. So that's a conversation you have to have with your children, and you have to prepare them for. But really regulating what they see on TV and social media will really help with that. I know that we occasionally watch, Live PD, and that's really fun for us. Sometimes we'll sit down and we'll watch it. It's not something we do every day or every week, because when my husband comes home from work, he wants to be home from work. The last thing he wants to do is sit and watch more crazy people. But it is something that we do on occasion, and we have a really good time when we do it. And that show has been so helpful to the rest of the world to kind of understand where an officer is at every day and what situations they are facing. And I think it's really brought a lot of perspective to the rest of the communities that surround the Leos. So other than that, though, we really regulate those videos that you see on Facebook of, police brutality, or because you're seeing it from one side, or, police officer shootings or high-speed chases, all of those kinds of things. We know that's what our husband faces, or your spouse faces. There's no need to watch it. I really am very cautious about that. And there have been a few that I've shared. State troopers as a whole, one of the biggest things they face is being hit on the side of the road. And people don't realize that. They think they're facing shootings or, the more violent, intentional things. But literally most of the officers that have been killed, state troopers that have been killed in the line of duty here, has been because of a road accident. So I do try to bring a little bit more light to that. I think it's important for people to understand, to slow down, get over. It's actually the law here in the state. Is to just get over. And if you don't, they're pretty harsh on it, and as they should be. And you should always get over, whether it's a police officer or a car or whatever, if it's possible, and if not, then slow down. So that's something that I've tried to bring a little bit more light to. I think people don't think about that very much. But outside of that, I really try to regulate what I'm posting, what I'm putting out there, and what I'm consuming, because it's a difficult job, and you want to be the best support that you can be, and sometimes that's a little bit hard when you're feeling fear and overwhelmed. So those are just a few of my top tips. I actually will probably come back and do another little video about this as I learn more and as I grow as a Leo. And my number one goal is just to support my husband 100% of the time and to always be here as a listening ear or as quiet, offering calm, offering peace. Um, that's my goal 100% of the time. And whatever he needs, that's what I try to adjust to. So that's my top tip, is just be supportive. Um, Love your spouse, love your significant other as best as you can, and make the everyday moments magical. And remember them. Take all the pictures, take all the videos, because you truly don't know if you may ever get that phone call or you may ever get those officers on your doorstep. And so just make the most of every moment that you have together and support your fellow Blue Line community. And if you are new, I would love for you to say hi and let me know, where you're coming from and how long you've been a spouse or significant other of a Leo. So I hope that this video is helpful, and I would love to hear from you. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, my blog. It's all linked down below. Give this video a like if you like this kind of content, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.